First contact and miscalculation. The sensor array aboard the Selvaran defensive outpost Nexus 7 erupted with alerts, causing Chief Monitor Varric to jolt from his meditation cycle. His four crystalline eyes refocused as the emergency systems bathed the command center in crimson light. Throughout the hollowed asteroid fortress, the crew of 37 Selvaran officers scrambled to their stations. "Report," Varric demanded, his voice resonating with the harmonic undertones characteristic of his species. The chitinous plates along his forearms shifted nervously, despite his practiced calm. "Unknown vessel detected at the edge of the Kalteri system," replied Sensor Officer Lyria, her tendrils flickering rapidly over the holographic controls. It emerged from what appears to be a self-generated spatial distortion. Commander Varric approached the central projection, well where a three-dimensional image materialized, a vessel unlike any in the Selvaran database. Angular and asymmetrical, its dark hull seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. Most concerning was not its design, but its size, easily triple that of their largest battlecruiser. Classification. Varric's compound eyes narrowed. "Unknown, Commander, but energy readings suggest." Lyria hesitated, her skin flushing the deep indigo. The Selvaran physiological response to extreme alarm. They matched the theoretical profiles for human technology. The command center fell silent. For 3 centuries, the Selvaran collective had documented rumors and distant observations of humans, a species that had exploded onto the galactic scene with alarming speed and mysterious capabilities. The few civilizations that had directly encountered humans told tales that seemed more myth than reality. Ships that could bend space itself, weapons that altered the fundamental laws of physics, and a species so internally divided yet paradoxically unified when faced with external threats. "Humans are real," whispered Sub-Commander Talek, voicing the collective disbelief. "We thought the Jovari traders were exaggerating their encounters." "Send emergency signal Obsidian Prime to the collective," Varric ordered. "Request immediate reinforcement from the home fleet. Begin evacuation protocols for the research facilities on Kalteri IV." As officers raced to execute his commands, Science Director Nera approached Varric's station. Unlike her colleagues, her chromatophores remained their natural azure, betraying her analytical rather than emotional response. "Commander, may I suggest we attempt communication before assuming hostile intent?" she asked quietly. "Our knowledge of humans is largely based on third-hand accounts and fragmented data." Varric's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Science Director, have you forgotten the Jovari accounts of the Arcturus incident, or the remains of the Moran civilization?" "With respect, Commander, those accounts lack context. We have no direct evidence. The vessel's trajectory and speed suggest deliberate approach toward our core systems," interrupted Talek. "No peaceful explorer would take such a vector." The debate halted as the communications officer called out, "Commander, High Council is responding to our alert. Priority channel established." The projection well shifted to display 3 elderly Selvarans, their exoskeletons adorned with the luminescent patterns indicating their status as the highest authorities in the collective. Their expressions reflected varying degrees of concern. "Counselors," Varric began, bowing deeply. "We have confirmed the presence of what we believe to be a human warship entering the Kalteri system. I've initiated emergency protocols and requested fleet deployment." High Counselor Zeleth leaned forward, her ancient face lined with concern. "After centuries of rumors, the humans have found us. How much time do we have, Commander?" "At current velocity, they will reach Kalteri IV in 12 hours, Counselor." "Our intelligence on human capabilities is limited," noted Counselor Draff. "But the Defense Ministry has developed theoretical countermeasures based on observable technology patterns." "Deploy everything," Zeleth decided. "All available fleet assets are to converge on Kalteri. The research facilities there are too valuable to lose." As the transmission ended, Nera approached Varric again. "Commander, before we commit to what could become a catastrophic confrontation, I request permission to attempt communication." Varric's initial instinct was to refuse, but decades of command had taught him to consider all options. What would you say to them? The truth, that we perceive their approach as potentially concerning based on limited intelligence, but that we are open to peaceful dialogue if that is their intent. After a moment's consideration, Varric nodded. Proceed, but make it clear that we are prepared to defend our territory. Nera worked quickly with the communications team, constructing a message that would transmit across multiple frequencies and formats. As they completed their work, the sensor array chimed again. Commander, Lyria called out, her voice rising an octave. The human vessel has altered trajectory. It's accelerating toward Calteri IV. They must have detected our communications preparations, Varric concluded grimly. This confirms their hostile intent. Cancel the transmission attempt. But, Commander, that's an order. All stations, battle preparations. Activate the defensive grid across Calteri IV immediately. Throughout the Calteri system, Selvaran forces mobilized. The researchers on Calteri IV, a verdant world housing some of the collective's most advanced biological and quantum laboratories, began emergency evacuation procedures. In orbit, automated defense platforms powered up, their weapon systems charging. Within 4 hours, the vanguard of the Selvaran home fleet arrived. 23 warships arranged in a defensive formation around Calteri IV. Their captains knew they faced an unknown adversary with potentially superior technology, but were prepared to sacrifice everything to protect their civilization's future. Back at Nexus 7, Nera watched the main display with growing unease. Something about the human ship's approach still bothered her, despite Varric's orders. She quietly instructed a junior communications officer to continue passive monitoring of all frequencies. Commander, the weapons officer announced, automated defense platforms are now tracking the human vessel. They'll be within engagement range in 3 minutes. Varric nodded grimly. The moment they enter our defensive perimeter, fire warning shots across their vector. If they continue to advance, unleash everything we have. Yes, Commander. The weapons officer's manipulators hovered over the tactical interface, ready to initiate what might become the Selvaran Collective's first interstellar war. Suddenly, the junior communications officer working with Nera called out, Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human ship. The command center fell silent as all attention turned to Varric. After a moment's hesitation, he ordered, put it through. The main projection flickered, and then an image appeared that none of them were prepared for. Instead of the fearsome, battle-hardened warriors of legend, they saw a human female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair, wearing what appeared to be a uniform adorned with unfamiliar symbols. This is Captain Maya Okonkwo of the Earth Expeditionary Vessel Horizon, the human said, speaking slowly and clearly. We come in peace, seeking dialogue with the Selvaran Collective. Please respond. Varric and Nera exchanged bewildered glances. Before either could respond, the weapons officer shouted, Commander, the automated defense grid has initiated firing sequence. Warning shots deploying. Horror dawned on Varric's face. Override. Cancel the attack. I can't, sir. Once the automated sequence begins, it must complete the protocol. They watched in helpless dread as 5 powerful energy beams lanced from Calteri IV's orbital defense platforms, cutting through space directly in front of the human ship. On the still-open transmission, they saw Captain Okonkwo's expression change from peaceful greeting to alarm as the human turned away from the camera, shouting orders to her crew. What have we done? Nara whispered as the transmission abruptly cut off. Varric's voice was hollow as he gave what might be his final order. All personnel, prepare for imminent human retaliation. But the expected counterattack never came. Minutes passed in tense silence as the command center crew monitored their sensors intently. The human vessel has halted all forward momentum, Lyria reported, disbelief evident in her voice. They're just waiting. Weapon status, Varric demanded. No energy buildup detected, the weapons officer replied, equally confused. Their defensive systems are active, but weapon systems remain dormant. Nara stepped forward. "Commander, they've reopened the communication channel." With a nod from Varric, the projection activated again. Captain Okonkwo's face appeared, now composed but serious. "Selvar in command," she began, her voice steady. "We recognize your defensive measures as a warning rather than a direct attack. We will maintain our current position while we attempt to resolve this misunderstanding. Our mission is peaceful. I repeat, we come as explorers, not conquerors." Varric approached the communication array and, after a moment's hesitation, responded. "This is Commander Varric of the Selvaran Defense Force. Your vessel matches no known configuration in our database, and your approach vector suggested possible hostile intent. You must understand our caution." "I do understand, Commander," Okonkwo replied. "The Horizon is a new class of explorer vessel. After decades of limited interstellar contact, humanity is reaching out to establish diplomatic relations with civilizations beyond our known sphere. We detected your outpost and research world through gravitational anomaly analysis, not through any aggressive surveillance." "Gravitational anomaly analysis," Varric repeated, unfamiliar with the term. A flicker of surprise crossed the human's face. "It's a technique we developed for long-range stellar cartography. It allows us to detect the subtle effects of artificial structures on local space-time fabric without direct sensor probes." The Selvarans in the command center exchanged amazed glances. Such technology was theoretical in their most advanced research. "Commander," Okonkwo continued, "I propose a direct meeting to discuss our respective civilizations and intentions. Would you permit a small shuttle to dock with your station? I would like to meet in person." Before Varric could respond, Nara interjected. "Perhaps instead, I could come to you, a single Selvaran representative in an unarmed shuttle." Varric shot her a warning glance, but Okonkwo nodded. "That would be acceptable. We will power down all defensive systems during your approach as a show of good faith." After the transmission ended, Varric confronted Nara. "You overstepped your authority, Science Director." "Yes, Commander," she acknowledged. "But consider the strategic advantage. If they harbor hostile intent, they sacrifice nothing by destroying one shuttle. However, if their intentions are as stated, this gives us an opportunity to gather intelligence without risking our defensive position." Varric considered her logic, then reluctantly nodded. "Very well, but you will wear a data recorder. Everything you see and hear must be transmitted back to us." "Understood." "Perfectly, Commander." Within the hour, Nara's small shuttle departed from Nexus 7, making the short journey to where the imposing human vessel waited. Despite its allegedly peaceful mission, the Horizon was intimidating. Nearly 3 kilometers in length, its dark hull absorbing the light from Kalteri's sun rather than reflecting it. As her shuttle approached, she observed sections of the hull retracting to reveal a docking bay. Following the transmitted guidance coordinates, Nara maneuvered into the cavernous space, noting with scientific curiosity the rows of smaller craft lining the walls, some clearly designed for exploration rather than combat. When the shuttle powered down, Nara took a moment to steady herself. She would be the first Selvaran in recorded history to meet humans face-to-face. The significance of the moment was not lost on her. The shuttle hatch opened to reveal 3 humans waiting. Captain Okonkwo stood in the center, flanked by 2 others in different uniforms. All 3 were shorter than Nara had expected, the tallest barely reaching 2 meters, considerably less than the average Selvaran height. "Science Director Nara." Okonkwo greeted her with a small bow. "Welcome aboard the Horizon. These are my science officer, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, and diplomatic officer, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez." Nara returned the gesture, careful to maintain the proper distance that her cultural briefing had suggested. "Thank you for receiving me, Captain. I must admit, this is a historic occasion for my people." "As it is for us," Okonkwo replied. "Please, join us in our conference room, where we can speak more comfortably." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Nara observed everything with careful attention. The interior was utilitarian but not Spartan, with surprisingly numerous civilian personnel moving with purpose. There were no visible weapons, though Nara noted multiple security checkpoints where they were scanned discreetly. The conference room was a circular chamber with a transparent ceiling offering a view of space, and currently, Kalteri IV in the distance. A round table occupied the center with various seating options that seemed designed to accommodate different physiologies. Once seated, Captain Okonkwo activated a holographic display. Science Director, before we discuss our mission, I believe some historical context would be beneficial. Much of what the Selvaran Collective knows about humanity may be outdated or incomplete. The display showed images of Earth, a blue-green world not unlike many in Selvaran space, and then a timeline of human interstellar exploration and conflicts. 3 centuries ago, Okonkwo explained, humanity was fragmented, with various Earth nations competing for resources as we expanded into space. This led to conflicts not only among ourselves, but with other species we encountered. The display shifted to show battles between different ship designs, some human, some clearly alien. The stories you've heard, the Arcturus incident, the fate of the Morin, these were real events, but they represent our darkest chapter, not our defining nature. 200 years ago, after a particularly devastating conflict with a species known as the Frex, humanity underwent what we call the Great Reconciliation. Nara listened intently as Captain Okonkwo described how humans had united their disparate factions, established peaceful relations with former enemies, and redirected their technological development from warfare to exploration and cooperation. Today, we lead the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of 23 species dedicated to mutual advancement and protection. We've been systematically reaching out to isolated or unknown civilizations, offering exchange of knowledge and resources. And that is why you came to Kalteri? Nara asked. Yes, our long-range sensors detected your civilization's quantum signature. The Selvaran Collective's technological approach is unique. We've never encountered a species that utilizes crystalline computing matrices quite like yours. Nara felt a surge of pride, quickly tempered by caution. Captain, while your intentions sound noble, you must understand our perspective. A massive vessel of unknown origin approaches our research world without warning. Our historical records, limited as they may be, suggest caution. Okonkwo nodded solemnly. I apologize for the alarm we caused. In retrospect, we should have transmitted our intentions from a greater distance. Earth's diplomatic protocols are still evolving. As they continued their discussion, Nara found herself increasingly convinced of the human sincerity. The technological capabilities they casually demonstrated, from their gravitational analysis techniques to their advanced biological sciences, were impressive without being threatening. After several hours, Nara prepared to return to Nexus 7 with a formal proposal for diplomatic relations between the Selvaran Collective and the human-led Galactic Concordat. As she boarded her shuttle, Captain Okonkwo offered a parting thought. Science Director, there's an old human saying, fear is born of the unknown. Today, we've begun to know each other. I hope that is the first step toward friendship. Nara's chromatophores shifted to a warm gold, the Selvaran expression of cautious optimism. Perhaps, Captain, but the journey from first contact to true understanding is rarely simple. She couldn't have known how prophetic those words would prove to be. Battle and understanding. The Selvaran High Council chamber hummed with tense energy as Science Director Nara concluded her report on the human vessel Horizon and its crew. The 3 senior counselors sat in contemplative silence, their chromatophores shifting through various hues as they processed the information. Their technological capabilities are remarkable, Nara emphasized. The gravitational analysis technique alone represents an approach to physics that our scientists haven't considered. And their biological sciences. Yes, interrupted Counselor Drav impatiently. Their advancements are impressive, but that doesn't explain why a supposedly peaceful explorer vessel possesses energy shielding capable of withstanding our defense grid. They explained that the horizon was designed for deep space exploration, including regions with extreme environmental hazards. Nera replied, "The defensive systems serve multiple purposes." High Counselor Zeleth leaned forward, her ancient face creased with concern. "Science Director, your assessment of their sincerity." Nera considered carefully before answering. "I believe Captain Okonkwo was truthful about their diplomatic mission. However, I also sensed they were selective in what they shared. There are aspects of human history and capability they deliberately avoided discussing. Precisely why we cannot lower our guard." Commander Varric interjected from his position at the tactical display. "The human vessel may indeed be peaceful, but it represents an unknown variable in our security calculations." The council chamber's entrance portal shimmered, admitting a Selvaran officer whose chromatophores pulsed with urgent red patterns. "Counselors, Commander, long-range sensors have detected multiple spatial distortions at the edge of the system. Energy signatures consistent with Vrex technology." The name sent a ripple of alarm through the chamber. The Vrex, a predatory species known for harvesting the technological achievements of other civilizations before eliminating them, had been a theoretical threat in Selvaran defensive planning for decades. "How many vessels?" Varric demanded. 17 confirmed, with more emerging. "They're arranging into attack formation." Counselor Zeleth's voice cut through the growing panic. "Commander, deploy the fleet to defensive positions. Science Director, contact the human vessel immediately. Inform them of the situation and request they withdraw from the system for their own safety." As the command center erupted into frantic activity, Nera established communication with the horizon. Captain Okonkwo's expression transformed from diplomatic politeness to focused intensity as she absorbed the information about the Vrex arrival. "We're familiar with the Vrex," Okonkwo stated grimly. "They've attacked Concordat worlds before." "How large is your defensive fleet, Commander Varric?" 27 warships currently in system," Varric replied, joining the transmission. "But Vrex technology has always proven challenging to counter." Okonkwo nodded. "Commander, I'm offering the Horizon's assistance in defense of Kaltiri. We have experience fighting the Vrex." Varric's compound eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Your vessel is equipped for combat, then, despite your claims of peaceful exploration. The Horizon has defensive capabilities." "Yes," Okonkwo acknowledged without apology. "The galaxy isn't always a friendly place, Commander. Will you accept our help?" Before Varric could respond, the tactical officer reported, "Vrex fleet accelerating toward Kaltiri IV. Estimated time to weapons range, 17 minutes. Varric made his decision. "We accept your assistance, Captain. But understand this, if you betray our trust, the consequences will be severe." "Understood, Commander." Transmitting tactical coordination protocols now. As the Vrex fleet approached, the Selvaran warships arranged themselves in a defensive sphere around Kaltiri IV, with the Horizon taking position at the edge of their formation. The human vessel dwarfed its allies, but remained ominously silent on communication channels as final preparations were made. "Vrex vessels entering weapons range in 30 seconds, announced the tactical officer. "They're powering up their primary disruptor arrays." "All ships, defensive protocols, Sigma 3, Varric commanded. "Target the lead vessels and prepare tow." His order was cut short as the space between the opposing fleets suddenly distorted. A series of brilliant energy pulses erupted from the horizon, but not in the direction of the Vrex ships. Instead, they struck empty space at seemingly random coordinates. "What are they doing?" Counselor Drav demanded. "They're firing at nothing." Nera studied the tactical display intently, her scientific mind racing to understand the human strategy. "No, they're firing at something. Something we can't see." The results became apparent moments later. As the Vrex fleet advanced, 3 of their vessels suddenly veered off course, their hulls breached by invisible forces. Secondary explosions rippled along their structures as they tumbled out of formation. Spatial mines, Varric realized with astonishment. They deployed cloaked spatial mines. The Vrex, equally surprised, broke their tight formation, exactly as the humans had anticipated. The horizon surged forward, energy weapons unlike anything the Selverans had seen before lancing out to strike precisely at the junction points of Vrex shield geometries. All Selveran vessels, target these coordinates, came Captain Okonkwo's calm voice over the tactical channel, accompanied by a stream of targeting data. Their shield configurations have predictable harmonic vulnerabilities at these points. The Selveran fleet responded, their weapons suddenly finding purchase where before they had struggled against Vrex defenses. 6 enemy vessels erupted in cascading explosions within the first minutes of engagement. But the Vrex adapted quickly. Their remaining ships reconfigured, forming a new attack pattern that concentrated fire on the horizon. The human vessel's shields flared brilliantly under the assault. Horizon shields at 63% and falling, reported a Selveran tactical officer. They can't withstand that concentration of fire for long. All vessels, execute pattern Theta, Varric commanded. Draw Vrex fire away from the human ship. The Selveran warships broke formation, launching a series of coordinated strikes against different Vrex vessels, forcing them to divide their attention. It provided momentary relief for the horizon, but not enough. The Vrex commander had identified the human vessel as the primary threat. "Commander," Nara called out suddenly, "the horizon is transmitting new data, quantum resonance patterns for the Vrex command ship." Varric studied the information rapidly. "They've isolated their command protocols. How is that possible?" "Unknown, but the data appears sound," Nara confirmed. "Target these coordinates with everything we have," Varric ordered without hesitation. The Selveran fleet concentrated its fire on a specific Vrex vessel that had remained in the rear of their formation. Initially, the attack seemed ineffective, until the horizon launched what appeared to be a small, unremarkable projectile toward the same target. "What was that?" Counselor Zelef asked, watching the tactical display intently. Her question was answered moments later when the projectile detonated near the Vrex command ship. Instead of a conventional explosion, it released a pulse of quantum energy that precisely matched the resonance pattern the humans had identified. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Vrex vessel's shields collapsed completely, followed by a cascade of systems failures that left it drifting and vulnerable. "Now," Captain Okonkwo's voice rang through the command channel, "all ships target their command vessel." The combined firepower of the Selveran fleet and the horizon reduced the Vrex command ship to expanding debris within seconds. The effect on the remaining Vrex vessels was immediate. Their coordinated attack faltered, individual ships beginning to break formation. "They're retreating," Varric observed as the Vrex fleet reversed course, accelerating toward the system's edge. "Victory is ours." But their celebration was premature. The horizon, severely damaged from the concentrated Vrex assault, was now venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Its main power systems appeared to be fluctuating dangerously. "Captain Okonkwo," Nara called urgently through the communication channel, "your vessel is critically damaged. We can provide assistance." There was no response for several long moments. Then, "Thank you, Science Director. We've sustained significant damage to our primary systems. We would appreciate your help." Within hours, Selveran engineering teams had boarded the horizon, working alongside the human crew to stabilize the damaged vessel. What they found inside astonished them. Technology far more advanced than Okonkwo had previously revealed, yet used with remarkable restraint during the battle. In the Selveran Command Center, the High Council convened an emergency session with Commander Varric and Science Director Nara. They could have destroyed the entire Vrex fleet themselves, Varric reported, still processing what he had learned. The weapons they employed were a fraction of their actual capability. Yet they chose a cooperative approach, Nara added. They shared tactical data, coordinated their attacks with ours, even placed their vessel at greater risk to protect Kalteri IV. High Counselor Zelef's chromatophores shifted to a thoughtful blue. Why would they limit themselves? Why risk their vessel when they possessed superior firepower? The chamber entrance shimmered again, admitting Captain Okonkwo and two of her officers. The humans looked weary but composed. "Because that's not who we are anymore," Okonkwo answered, having heard Zeleth's question. "Or at least, not who we're trying to become." She approached the council table, her movements careful in the slightly higher gravity. "Counselors, Commander, Science Director, humanity's history is filled with technological achievements that outpaced our wisdom to use them properly. We developed weapons that could destroy worlds before we understood the responsibility that came with such power." "The Great Reconciliation you mentioned," Nara recalled. "Yes, after the Vrex War, a conflict that nearly destroyed both our species, humanity made a collective decision. We would continue to advance technologically, but we would temper that advancement with ethical constraints. We could have obliterated the Vrex fleet today, but at what cost? What would that have taught you about us? What would it have taught us about ourselves?" The council chamber fell silent as the Selverans considered her words. "Instead," Okonkwo continued, "we chose cooperation. We shared knowledge, coordinated our efforts, trusted you as you trusted us, and together, we achieved victory with minimal casualties on both sides." Councillor Drav leaned forward. "A noble sentiment, Captain, but it nearly cost you your ship and crew." "Some principles are worth the risk, Counselor," replied one of Okonkwo's officers, the one introduced earlier as Ambassador Rodriguez. "The Horizon's mission isn't just to find new civilizations, but to find new ways of relating to them, not as conquerors or even saviors, but as partners." High Counselor Zeleth studied the humans thoughtfully. "What are you proposing, Captain Okonkwo?" "An alliance, Counselor. Not merely diplomatic relations, but Selveran membership in the Galactic Concordat. Your technological approach, particularly your crystalline computing, offers perspectives our scientists haven't explored, and your philosophical traditions could contribute significantly to ongoing Concordat ethical debates." "And the Vrex?" Commander Varric asked. "They will return." "They will," Okonkwo acknowledged grimly. "The Vrex have been escalating their attacks on multiple fronts. Intelligence suggests they're building towards something larger, perhaps an offensive against multiple Concordat worlds simultaneously. That's another reason we're seeking new allies." Over the next several days, as repairs continued on the Horizon and the Selveran fleet, detailed discussions took place between human and Selveran representatives. The humans shared their knowledge of the wider galaxy, its political structures, major civilizations, ongoing conflicts, and potential threats beyond the Vrex. The Selverans, initially cautious, found themselves increasingly intrigued by the possibilities. Their civilization had deliberately limited its expansion after early disastrous encounters with other species, focusing instead on depth of development rather than breadth. The opportunity to engage with the galactic community from a position of strength and with powerful allies was compelling. A month after the battle, a formal ceremony marked the Selveran Collective's provisional entry into the Galactic Concordat. As representatives from both civilizations exchanged ceremonial tokens, Science Director Nara found herself standing beside Captain Okonkwo, watching the proceedings. "When your ship first appeared in our system," Nara remarked, "I never imagined this outcome." Okonkwo smiled. "The universe rarely unfolds as we expect, Director. That's what makes exploration worthwhile." "And now we explore together," Nara replied, her chromatophores shifting to a warm gold that mirrored the optimism in the human captain's eyes. "Yes, we do," Okonkwo agreed, "though I suspect the greatest discoveries still lie ahead." As if punctuating her words, a junior officer approached with urgent news. Concordat long-range sensors had detected unusual activity in multiple sectors, patterns consistent with large-scale Vrex fleet movements. Okonkwo exchanged a meaningful glance with Nara. Their newfound alliance would soon face its greatest test, but now neither civilization would face it alone. The moment an alien Armada had realized they were facing the human warship had transformed from a potential tragedy into the beginning of an unexpected partnership. And in the vastness of the galaxy, such partnerships might prove to be the most powerful technology of all.